Welcome to today's podcast episode, my friend. We are going to be talking about productivity and your cycle, how to really understand what your biological blueprint is, what your strengths are in each phase, and how you can then optimize. That is truly how my Living in Sync method and what I teach here on the podcast is meant for you to do. I know a lot of Living in Sync, cycle syncing, other, hormone cycle experts talk about what to stop doing and what to not do. But sometimes, and especially as moms, as career women, as all of the things, there are just some times where we need to get things done, even if it's not the best time in our cycle. I get that and I totally understand. And that is why I love this episode, because it first brings understanding. I don't know about you, but when I used to not feel like doing certain things, or when I would do something like record a podcast episode and it felt really in flow, I didn't stumble over my words, I could really just click record and start talking. And sometimes it just feels really hard. And instead of in those moments when things feel really hard, I'm not self-sabotaging. I'm not being like, oh, Joelle, maybe you're not into this anymore. Maybe you're not that good at this, or whatever. I just have a better understanding of my biology. And I mean, you hear me call it out on episodes all the time where I'm like, you guys, I'm in this phase. My brain's just not braining right now, right? And I have a better understanding, but that doesn't mean I'm not working out for 2 weeks out of the month, or I'm not recording, or I'm not going to meet somebody for coffee if the opportunity arises. But it brings me to a better understanding of my biology. And then when I can, I optimize. And that is what I want to teach you today. I also want to remind you that I created a mini course this summer that is a very accessible mini course for you to understand my time management method. And I'm still going to be adding bonuses to that mini course, such as an in-depth cycle understanding for your time management, for your day-to-day. Because in this course, I am teaching you how to understand and recognize the season of life that you are in, declare what it is that matters to you and what you want to work towards, so then you have your blinders on, and then you're going to know how to live each day in alignment with those priorities. So then each day you're like, I made momentum forward. I lived in alignment with what matters to me. I didn't let the day just drain and dictate what I did. You will then have a feeling of satisfaction of like, I did the dang thing. I moved forward, but not in an overwhelming way, not in a 10x your activity to see the result that you want kind of a way. This is truly how I manage it all. It is my method for time management, for being an entrepreneur, mother, a homemaker, the grocery shopper, multiple businesses, different things on my plate, community events that I am helping out with, and also while keeping my sanity and making time for me in working out consistently and going on walks and doing things that fill my cup, right? So I'll leave you with that. Let's roll into today's episode. Welcome to the Living in Sync podcast, where we will talk about the biological blueprint of your cycle and how your hormones impact every area of your life. I'm your host, Joelle, certified nutritionist, mom of 2, fitness coach for over a decade, and I want to help you better understand your cycle to work with your body in achieving your goals. I will teach you how to care for your body in a well-rounded and realistic way that caters to your season of life and feel freaking amazing. In every episode, you will get tips, takeaways, and just feel like this is a heart-to-heart chat with a friend. Let's roll into today's episode. Hello, my friend. Welcome to today's podcast episode where we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is productivity, creativity, and how to use your cycle to know what your strength is in those areas each and every phase, knowing that you have a superpower, knowing that utilizing it and harnessing it will lead you to being productive and well-rounded, that you don't have to be this person that shows up in the same way every single day, but how cyclically operating even in your productivity and your creativity will lead you to feeling well-rounded. And I do believe that it is the reason why I don't often resonate with the term burnout. Everybody's going to get to a phase of burnout at some point in life. It's just, I think it's a part of life, but I do think because I know when to harness that productivity, that make the list, do the list, execute the plan, then wrap it up, evaluate and rest before moving forward. Operating in that cyclical way leads to me feeling very productive, very centered, very grounded, and not feeling like I'm constantly bulldozing through life when it comes to work and creativity and productivity. So I am going to talk about work-related things, creativity, try to make it relatable to if you are working a 9-to-5 job or if you are an entrepreneur, but obviously some of those things are going to be different. As moms in general, we are just meant to be operating in a productive way anyway. So even if you are a full-time homemaker, you have the hardest job in the entire world, being home and with your kids all day long. Like, I hope you gain some cyclical clarity in today's episode as well. So let's start with follicular phase. So during follicular phase, this is really a great time to use your creativity, to dream big, to brainstorm, to initiate, prepare, and plan. Get out your calendar, research, be curious, explore, take courses, learn something new, start a new course. Look at your week, month, year, clarify your projects and your vision, and fill your planner with things that you want to accomplish, right? And so in work, this really could mean starting that new project. Like if you have had an idea to start a project, start a plan, start a business, start doing things in a different way, follicular phase is a great time to kind of map it out and then get into the nitty-gritty of it, to take those challenging mental tasks to problem solve, to seek out new clients, research new ideas, make plans for the month ahead, make some big decisions, and just open your brain up to dreaming. Follicular phase is a really great place for that. This is really also a time where you may look at like all the things that you want to accomplish in the day or in the week, and then knowing where to place those things and place them in a way that can be accomplished and achieved. Knowing that in follicular phase, if you make the plan, the list, you want to start the project, you don't have to do it all in that one day. Follicular phase would be a really great time to kind of look at how you can break it up. So whether that's over the course of a month or 3 months, you still get to that desired outcome of whatever project it is you are working on. And then communicating to others, realistically, how long is a project going to take you? For me, there are times where I'm like, oh, it's just not really going to work for me to have it done in that time frame, but is it okay for me to have it to you by this day? I think, with my previous jobs and thinking about all of that and thinking of me I have hired people to help work in my business. And when somebody has said to me, like one of my subcontractors or one of my virtual assistants says to me like, hey, I can't get this done by this day, but if it's okay if I get it done by this day, is that all right? I'm usually always like, yep, Like I know and I trust you. They don't have to tell me if it's because of their schedule or their life or something happened in their family or their cycle or whatever. All I need to know is, bottom line, is it going to get done? So maybe if you're wondering like, oh, Joelle, my boss may not be cool with that. You don't have to tell your boss that this is happening around your cycle. But if your boss gives you something to do and it is during late luteal and menstrual phase, be like, you know what, realistically, to do this as well as I want to do it, is it okay if I have it to you by this day? And give yourself some more time and space. I can more than likely guarantee, unless your boss is a big old a-hole, they're going to be fine with it. And I mean, I'm speaking to that in the sense of I employ people and I have people help me and support me in my business. And if somebody were to come to me in that way, I would be okay with that. So after follicular phase, we really roll into ovulation phase, where we have that high energy. All of our hormones are at our highest point. And so during like late follicular, early ovulation, early luteal phase, it really is just a great time for communication and collaboration. So for this, oftentimes this is when I am personally recording videos, taking pictures, making social media content, and socializing, being around others. Maybe I'm going to be recording some podcast episodes, collaborating with people, talking about plans, scheduling dates for like lunch dates, coffee chats, networking, hosting any sort of like party, whether it's virtual party or webinars, really those tasks where you are being outward. So another great thing, and we talked about this in the motherhood and marriage episode, was this is a great time for communication. So if there is something that you want to discuss with a colleague or your boss, maybe ask for a raise or go on job interviews, like if you're wanting to change up your work environment, your work situation, ovulation is really a great time to schedule interviews, writing, crafting, taking pictures, posting on social media. I really talked about all of those things, but think about what it is in your day-to-day where being out and about is required. So when it comes to productivity, think about follicular ovulation phase being the time where you're executing the plan, like you're getting ish done. Maybe if we take an example of planning out a birthday party, during follicular phase is really when you plan out all of the details, like what are you going to eat? What kind of decorations do you need? What's the theme? Blah, 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 blah. Ovulation is that execution. Like you're going to get it done. You're going to go to the shops or be on Amazon or make sure that you've got things like put together and then have the party during that ovulation time, right? And then as you roll into luteal and menstrual phase, we are going into the completion of things. So really, when we are thinking about productivity and creativity, that in follicular and ovulation, productivity and creativity gets an applause during this time. You know, the things that get an applause should be done during that follicular and ovulation phase, you know, hosting the webinars, going to the networking events, doing all the things, getting projects in, like getting started and in the works and the momentum going around them. That's like the doing. You know, you can make a long to-do list in follicular and ovulation phase and feel like check, 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 check. You still have energy at the end of the day to run your kids to their activities and make dinner and get all the groceries, and like you really feel like you're a productivity queen during follicular and ovulation phase. Now let's talk about the well-roundedness of rolling into luteal phase and what it means for your work and your creativity and your productivity. Because as we know, estrogen is lowering. I have so many notes here, you guys, and I'm sorry you can hear my papers. But as you know, when we are having our estrogen lower and our progesterone's rising, it's really kind of more of that centered, lower energy feeling. So during luteal and late luteal, this is really a great time for completion and nurturing and tending. So looking at the back end of stuff. This is when you look at kind of what needs to be completed and get those tasks done. This is not this is a time to still work on things on your to-do list, but maybe it's not necessarily like record all the episodes, take all the pictures. So for example, in podcasting, how this works for me is oftentimes I try to plan out what kind of episodes I'm going to be having in follicular phase. Like, what are the month's episodes going to look like? Like, I got the idea for this episode series in follicular phase, and my plan was to record them all in ovulation. Well, because of Christmas break, kids not having daycare, I'm really starting it in early luteal phase where I'm recording this, and I can kind of feel energy lower, but I'm going through and I'm batch recording a ton of these episodes. And then as I roll into late luteal phase, I will be editing the episodes, getting them into the platform, making sure all the links that, I know I'm terrible at that, but making sure all the links that I talked about are there for you guys to click, and making sure that the episodes are edited and scheduled. And then during menstrual phase is when I really look at, okay, how did people like the podcast episodes from the last month, right? So it's that completion of the task and then the evaluation and reflection of it. So sticking with luteal phase, so feel good about wrapping things up, attend to things within our home, our finances, an administrative task, and prepare yourself for some rest and reflection. And so with menstrual phase, this is a really great time for evaluation and intuition. Reflect on the past month, be kind to yourself, review. Remember, you probably have some emotions, some strong, powerful emotions going on. Maybe some things are bothering you. Maybe you've been reflective and comparison. But remember, you have the part of your brain that is ready to problem solve. The solution part, the solution and the logic and the emotional sides of your brain are open and communicating during this time. So yeah, you may be feeling emotional about something. Maybe something didn't turn out the way that you wanted, but I encourage you to, whether you need to journal about it or talk about it, go into problem solving during menstrual phase, and you will uncover such gold during that time. It's especially important to trust your instincts during menstrual phase. So what is your gut telling you? Spend time to journal, review, write a note to yourself, set reminders for yourself, and let go of literally let go of just garbage that didn't serve you. Look at how projects went, look at how things are going, and let go what you need to let go, while also setting intentions for how you want to move forward. So during menstrual phase is that evaluation, reviewing, asking yourself how things are going, reassessing, maybe reassessing things in your career or how things are operating within your household. Listen to those instincts. If you are at work, knowing that taking frequent breaks will really help your brain. This is for luteal and for menstrual phase. During luteal and menstrual phase, you may find it harder to really focus. Give yourself some brain breaks. Give yourself some brain breaks, even if that's sitting at your desk, closing your eyes and, rolling your head in circles or stretching out your shoulders and then getting back into the task. That will really help your brain recenter and refocus, and take a personal day if you need to. I know a lot of you guys do have limited PTO days, but using your time and using those PTO days for some personal days, for some sick time, don't feel guilty for that. Don't feel guilty for that. I know for me as an entrepreneur, I can schedule it in. I can make time in my week, each week, to take a day off if I want to take a day off. Well, in motherhood, you can't. But with your PTO, and I know this because my husband and a handful of my friends who work jobs where you are only allotted a certain amount of time off per year, and you don't use it all. Like, you talk about how it's not enough, but you don't use it all for what it's meant for. Okay, and so don't feel guilty about that if you're just at the point of total burnout and you do just need to take some personal time off. And sometimes being just transparent about it, saying I'm going to be using some sick days for some mental health stuff going on, and seeing if your boss is okay with that, or if your HR department is okay with that, it's worth a try. It is worth a try and will definitely be beneficial for you to come back and feel refreshed. And if they respond with absolutely not, that's something to reflect on, maybe. Just depends. Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you loved what you heard or you want to share your favorite episode topics, please leave a rating and review. This helps the podcast growth and gives people an idea of what the podcast is all about. Something new and exciting that I wanted to share with you before we go is that we now have a Patreon page. This has replaced the Feminine Edge collective community in a cohesive place that is easier for me to manage and cheaper for you. If you are interested in our monthly classes, exclusive day in the life vlogs, Bible studies, community Q&A, and more, go to patreon.com/livingInSync and join for just $5 a month. Check out the show notes for any links or details of things referenced in today's episode, and I look forward to chatting with you in the next one.